That's Ollie.
Larger than
I added Christmas lights behind my chair to make it more festive, and I just realized I'm sitting in front of them, so in 2001, the book Dark Fields was released, and for the next 15 years, it would define a creative team's mission to create one of the best film to TV adaptations I've personally ever seen. After reading the book, the writer Leslie Dixon, also known for Mrs. Doubtfire and Freaky Friday, decided this inspiration wouldn't go unheard. Her, along with the director Neil Berger, who you might know from Divergent and The Upside, as well as someone you definitely know, Bradley Cooper, created a team that would work to create the film Limitless. In 2011, this science fiction thriller came out, starring Bradley Cooper as Eddie Mora, a failing writer who happens to fall into the world of a new smart drug, NZT-48. Now, this drug is different than anything you would see today. Obviously, there's no drug like this. For certain drugs today, like modafinil or like a smart drug, is supposed to have the same effect, but this, obviously, as a science fiction story, it allows the user to use 100% of their brain, which if you're like me, you might have always imagined what that was like. Well, you don't have to imagine because scientifically we already use 100% of our brain, but for the story context, we don't. When the user is on this drug, they're not only able to multitask insanely and be completely focused, but more importantly, they're able to use everything they've ever read, learned, heard, or even seen in passing. They can calculate things insanely fast in their minds, and all around, they're just insanely smart. But the problem is the side effects. No one's able to last long in this drug without having side effects that are probably going to put them in the hospital or in the grave. After Eddie Mora finishes his manuscript on the drug, he doesn't stop there. He uses his newfound intelligence to break into the stock market, the politics, and he climbs himself up the ladder to a place that is very dangerous. I'm not going to go too much into this movie because I want to talk about the adaptation to the TV series, which is one of my favorite series. But the important thing to point out is that Bradley Cooper and his creative team originally conceptualized this as a TV series, but wanted to just put it in a small format movie with a box office return of $161 million. It was a huge success. So this led to what I'm going to talk about today, the CBS show of the same name, Limitless. With Bradley Cooper as the executive producer, this TV show follows a new protagonist, Brian Finch, who is a failing musician who also happens to fall into the drug from a friend, but after he's framed for the murder of his friend, he uses the intelligence from the drug to find the real killer and also discover the mysterious disease that's killing his father. But all of this puts him on the radar of the FBI and Eddie Mora, who's now the governor of New York. So with this, Bradley Cooper as Eddie Mora gives him an immunity shot so he can take NZT for a long period of time without having the side effects or dying. As far as the FBI is concerned, no one can do that. They take him in as a consultant. Now, I do want to point out, besides the amazing soundtrack of this show, the director, Mark Webb, who also directed The Office, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, The Amazing Spider-Man, 500 Days of Summer. He has a really creative artistic style that you can totally see throughout the entire season. But something I've enjoyed more than that is within the 22 episode run, they changed the theme from the original movie. Now, typically in shows, I don't prefer a narrator-based story, but Jake McDorman, who plays Brian Finch, does it so perfectly that you can always see the insights into his mind, not only when he's on NZT, but also when he's off it. So the difference between him and Eddie Mora from the original movie is that Brian is a really good guy. You know, when he was on the drug, he didn't go and try to make money. He solved his dad's disease and found the real murderer to his best friend. So this combined with his partner, Jennifer Carpenter, who pretty much plays the same FBI agent as she did in Dexter, really turns into like a buddy cop scenario, but it's really entertaining because you see everything from a new perspective and all the cases are really unique. However, there is a season-wide arc that Brian does go on with Eddie Mora, with his own conscious, with NZT, and with the whole backstory of where it came from and how it actually works. Now, one of the important things about bringing back Bradley Cooper as Eddie Mora is that it wasn't designed as nostalgia bait. Like so many shows and movies, even though this is a spin-off from the direct universe, it's used very sparingly and allows the show to kind of stand on its own. Now, in my opinion, adaptations are hard, not only from a book to a movie or TV show, but specifically from a movie to a continuing series. Not only do you have to connect with the original universe, but you also have to add something new. We saw this in the past year with the MCU, how they're putting out 8 or 9 TV shows on top of like 7 movies that are all connected in the same universe, but there also is a multiverse theory now, and everything's kind of falling apart, and you can see that the time and dedication is not given enough to each project.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
But thankfully, with most of the creative team coming back, like Neil Berger, as well as Bradley Cooper's interaction, the Limitless TV show was able to fall in line with the original story and add a whole new aspect of What would happen if someone with no ulterior motives, who just wanted to be a good person, had access to NZT? But as I touched on before, the minor change in genre and theme was so enticing. But you jump around from episode to episode, where in one scenario, Brian can't comprehend the murder in front of him, so his mind has to put himself in a childhood TV show, where he has a grown man in a dinosaur costume explain to him, instead of saying strangled, just say hugged too hard, and instead of saying the names of the serial killers, call him the Praline Ice Cream Man, or the Mint Chocolate Chip Man, and then the next episode could be a parody of Ferris Bueller. But it's just simple changes like that, along with the great cinematography and acting, that it really engages you in this story. Now, I won't go too much into the backstory of Brian Finch and his whole arc throughout the series, as I think watching it for the first time is something that everyone really should have a chance to do. Now, I have to warn you, I am telling you to go watch this show. There is a catch. There's only one season. Now, even though it's a curated spot in primetime TV from 10 to 11 on Tuesdays, and started out the first half of the season with more views per episode than Game of Thrones that year, nearing the end of the season, which is consistent in most TV shows, the views did drop off. They weren't low by any means. I mean, they were still 7-8 million per episode, but compared to what they thought would be more successful in the future, they decided to give other TV shows a chance, which I think is a real shame because the whole creative team behind Limitless and CBS said there was no creative differences. There was no other problems besides small dip in ratings. Now, thankfully, a year or two later, the show moved to Netflix, where everyone thought a new audience, a new production company, they might pick up for a second season there, but they did not. There's honestly no definitive answer why there's no season 2, and God, I wish there was, because it was such a good series, and the writers had to basically craft a long-winded story into a last hour-long episode, where they just tied a nice little bow on everything, and it left you wanting more, like really wanting more, and it left a lot of things unanswered. So I will say, take the series with a grain of salt. While I think it's an amazing adaptation, Jake McDorman does an amazing job creating this Brian Finch character and bringing him to life, and the tone, the shift from the director Mark Webb and the writer Craig Sweeney bring a whole new focus of what you can really do in NZT 48. So if you guys do like the original movie with Bradley Cooper, or if you've never even seen the original movie or the TV show, I really encourage you to go watch it, and especially if you want to see how to perfectly adapt a film in a different genre to a TV series in the same universe, go watch this show. Make sure to like and subscribe, come back for more. And if you guys do want me to review this series as a whole and Brian Finch's arc, or even the universe of Limitless and where NZT 48 came from, then I'd be glad to do that. Just make sure you subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below, and thanks for watching.